Hey guys, Monkey from Board Gamer here today talking about graphics cards. Now, I recently upgraded my 290X AMD card, just a reference one, to a this card. In fact, it's right over here. Got one I made earlier, a 980 GTX MSI card, the G4 gaming one. And I saw a great improvement in Star Citizen for my recordings as well. It acted amazingly for my recordings, and streaming works really, really a treat. I was also given the opportunity to try out a AMD Sapphire 290X and I had some great results as that as well. Although it was a little bit more tricky to fit in the other cards because although my case does support the water cooling, it was a bit faffy. But I thought I'd do a comparison video and talk about some benchmarks I did with it and talk about what's worth getting, what's not worth getting, and my opinions on both. So without further ado, let's jump in. So here are my system specs. I'll put them up on the screen. For the test, I'm not running any form of overclocking either. For this benchmark, I use Fraps to benchmark a 60-second chunk of, firstly, me running up and down my hanger and then getting into a 315p. And then I do the first wave of Vandal Swarm. I start the clip at another 60-second clip of when the Vandal first appear at around 10 seconds, and then go on to about 1 minute 10, 1 minute 12. Sometimes the game runs slightly faster than 60 seconds, apparently. I run Star Citizen 1.1 in very high graphics mode in 1920x1080. I also create a custom USER.cfg with the following settings, which I'll jam up on screen again. I also add a make multi-GPUs work command line to the System.cfg as well, because otherwise the 290X2 doesn't work properly. The 290X is the slowest card here for me. It gives a big loss of frames when recording and streaming too, when I use OBS or do anything out of screen. If I Alt-Tab, I lose massive amounts of frames until I reboot my computer, basically, or reboot that game. I didn't have any actual graphics issues with the 290X though, so I don't find any flicker or any of the problems that people seem to report with lots of other graphics cards. It has an average hanger test frames of 68, and in the Vandal Swarm it was 66. But the range of frames from 38 to 108 is pretty erratic, and that's the problem with a lot of these AMD cards. They're quite erratic rendering frames. They can do really fast ones, and then really bad ones, and then really trashy ones, and really slow ones. So they're quite erratic. Then there's the Nvidia 980. This also allows me to record in OBS with its like shadow play hardware encoder. This is amazing for me. So this is before I even do the test. I'm messing around with recording settings. I don't get any form of game lag or frame lag from streaming now or recording. I don't notice that I'm recording. It's absolutely great. I do occasionally get some flicker of assets though. I think it's called Z attack. Well, I'll just get parts of like asteroids or background images flickering, which is a little bit annoying sometimes. They do pass, and it's not game breaking though. So frames wise, I got a significant improvement over the 290X, with an average frames in the hangers test of almost 90 frames, and in the Vandal Swarm test around 85. There's also a smaller gap of range, effectively. It's between 68 and 124 in the hanger test, and in the Vandal Swarm test it's 55 to 135, the range of frames. Now, I really want minimum frames of around 60, so with a little bit of tweaking, I can get that now. I can get that if I tweak down a couple of my settings in the USER.cfg. That's really great. Really enjoy that card. Think it's absolutely great. You can pick them up quite cheaply on eBay now. We'll talk about that later though. Let's move on to the 295X2. I'm not a fan of putting SLI or 2 GPUs on a single card or anything like that. Also, people regularly complain about frame stuttering, artifacts, loads of Z attack problems, flickering problems with these cards in Star Citizen. I did experience some of the flickering, but none of the other issues people regularly complain about. Though in the test, the minimum to maximum frames is a much wider range. So in the hanger test, it gets an average of 107 frames. That's awesome. That's absolutely great. But it has a range of 65 to 178 frames, so that's pretty damn erratic again. It's the same problem with pretty much every AMD card at the moment. They have really erratic frame differential. In the Vandal Swarm test, 104 frames per second with a minimum of 60, a maximum of 189. So That's great. I'm getting exactly what I want for my minimum frames with that card. Again, with the 295X2 though, I do lose a lot of frames when recording. So although that test goes, yes, minimum 60 frames, it doesn't actually really do that. It gets smashed when I try and record. So that will go down to around 40 minimum, which just isn't suitable for my needs. I'm preferring the 980. I think it's great. I'm glad I've got one that's mine. It's cheaper than the 295X2 as well, and much better for my recording and streaming needs. All these cards were really easy to install, though the 295X2 has an inbuilt water cooling unit and does require your case to support that, or for you to bodge it, to jam it into your case and on the outside as well. So basically you need your case to support that, and it did take me a little while to fit because of its extra cooling unit, and I've not done that before. I've not had to put an external internal kind of water cooling unit thing in, and my case is quite small. Does support it, but it took a while to do. So price-wise, the 295X2 is around $750 and seems to translate around the world relative to that. So in the UK, I think you can grab them for about 500 quid. And the rest of the world, yeah, just translates pretty well. The 980 is around $550. Now, this is my star for me because of the way it allows me to record and stream quite well. It suits my needs perfectly. So I've gone for that one. Actually, I didn't go for that one based on that. I'm just lucky that that works that way. The 290X is only $360 though, and is a really great top range card. It's just I found a better one in the 290. Now, if you want a budgetish or a cheaper option, definitely go for the 290X. It's gonna really, really speed up your system, whatever other card you've got, other than unless you've got one of the ones I've just mentioned, or like a Titan, and this card is going to be pretty good. It's just that the other two are particularly great. So my suggestion is, if you want to grab a bargain on one of these cards, try eBay. You are protected by the buyer program as long as you pay through PayPal, verified PayPal, if the items don't work or something goes wrong immediately. But please read the item descriptions on eBay if you do that. I picked up a bargain. I grabbed my card, my 980 for £375, which is about just under $500, I think, at the moment. Anyway, guys, I hope that was informative. I do try to do these videos quick to minimise bullcrap. If you're going for an AMD 295X2, make sure you add that GPU, multi-GPU line, again, I'll put it in the description, into the system file, and not to the user file, because it won't work properly. It has to be the system file specifically for that. Some people have a lot of issues with the 295X2s as well. I expect that the optimization will get better and better over the next few patches in Star Citizen, and they're starting to add 64-bit processes, so that hopefully will help, and we're going to get a lot more optimized game. But at the moment, go for the 980. If you can afford it, go for the 980. If you can afford it and you've got loads of money to burn, go for two 980s and jam them in SLI. Although you might get micro stuttering, you might get the said flicker, who knows. Anyway, I've just done that. I don't know what I'm rambling on about now. I do apologise. Anyway, please check out my other stuff, and like and subscribe if you want to, because it really does help me out. You take care, guys, and I'll see you in the verse. What I'll try and do as well, actually, is I'll try and grab some of the more budget cards. I say budget cards, they're not really that budget, and like the 970 and that sort of stuff, and see how that works, and see if it's worth SLIing them over buying like a 980 or something. We'll have a look. We'll see what we can do. Anyway, you take care, guys, and I'll see you next time.